Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is take 2 of our discussion. Ask a Girl. Due to certain restrictions, I can't exactly go out there and interview any girl. I'll have to interview this particular charming young lady, Mrs.P. So I have a few questions about sexism. We're talking about women's rights movement and sexism. And I know this is the only question we got to in the other recording before something happened. But tell me about what it's like. Let me back up. I forgot to say this part. I think a lot of times that you see racism in society, unfortunately, it is jarring. I don't know what the right word. There's so many words that are right. Upsetting, egregious, disgusting.
Offensive.
Yes. Sexism, which is also very insidious, I think is actually more prevalent. And it's almost in like these little doses that it would be easy for you to not notice if you weren't looking for it.
Right.
As opposed to racism sometimes hits you in the face. I'm not saying either is okay.
No.
I'm saying that they just seem, in my opinion, I've seen them presented in two different ways. So one way that I think that sexism sort of sneaks into everyday society is something that we've done. We've been married 25 years, so from time to time, I've had to buy a car. When we're buying a car for you, we make the decision together, but when it's my car, I make the final call. When it's your car, you make the final call. Talk to them, if you could, about what sometimes you've experienced as a female car purchaser.
It really depends on who the salesperson is and what age category they fall into. Younger guys, you don't usually see this issue. Women, you obviously don't see this issue. But older gentlemen tend to want to talk only to you and don't want to talk to me when it's going to be my primary vehicle and I'm the primary driver on it. They just tend to, the older gentlemen do tend to defer to you with questions and pointing out features and all of that.
Absolutely. I've noticed it every time, and it makes me bite my tongue. And I think we've walked out of dealerships because we just got a bad vibe from that. Another one that isn't as timely today, but there was a time, and I think because your father was a mechanic, that you preferred a stick shift, a manual transmission.
Yes.
Do you remember asking certain male salesmen, hey, do you have this car and a stick shift? How'd that go?
They asked me if I knew how to drive one. Which, why would I ask if they have it available if I can't drive that type of vehicle?
Did they ask me when I bought stick shift vehicles?
No.
Side note, who taught me how to drive a manual transmission?
That'd be me.
That is correct. So, pretty sexist. For that matter, as far as like mechanics go, I have very little car knowledge at all. Your father and grandfather were mechanics.
Yes.
You've got way more than me. You can hear something and go, valve lifter. Okay, where I go, Johnson rod. Okay, that's just, our made-up term for anything going wrong in the car.
Right.
Can you talk about, have you ever taken a car into the shop and said, hey, X, Y, or Z, and they think you're crazy?
Yes. we were in college, and I was driving to my student teaching position. So I was dressed in elementary school teacher clothes. I probably had my hair pulled back, and it was the 90s, so I had a big fluffy bow in my hair, I'm sure, because that's what we wore. And I walked into a garage because my tires, I could feel a wobble in the tires, and we had...
That was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had recently changed a tire, and you felt like you didn't get the lug nuts tightened down as tight as you could because you didn't have a air compressed drill or whatever to put it on. That's the technical term. Anyway, so I walked in and I explained the situation, and the guy kind of looked at me like, whatever, lady. And he walked around the corner into the garage, and I heard he talking to the guys, and one of the mechanics went, oh my gosh, my tire's going to fall off. Like I was some kind of ditzy airhead that didn't know what I was talking about. the guy walked out to my car, backed it out of the parking spot, and the tire promptly fell off of the car. And all these other mechanics ran out to see it. And I walked out and I said, I'm not stupid. I knew what I was talking about. And I was really offended. If the tire was still in my car, I would have driven away to another garage.
That not only tells the story of sexism, but also how broke we were.
Yes.
That we drove cars where the wheels fell off.
Yes.
Not surprising at all. Okay. Some general questions.
Yes.
General. If a ship is sinking, and you got to get everybody to lifeboats, who should go first?
Children and their caregiver.
Anybody else?
The elderly.
Yes, I did try a little gotcha journalism. Normally in the movies, what do you hear?
Oh, you hear women and children first. But that goes to women were traditionally the caretakers of the children.
You think that's why?
Yeah, I do.
I think it's because the world is sexist. But we'll go through some other questions. Who should pay for the first date?
The person who asks.
Person who asks. That's interesting. Who asked who on the first date in our situation? Some 30 years ago, because we dated a long time before we got married.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
You asked me.
Oh.
Yeah. Who paid?
I don't know.
Oh, I
don't remember.
Definitely paid.
I don't remember our first date. I remember our second date. I don't remember our first date.
Because she threw up on her second date. That's okay. So she did. I don't know what to tell you. It was memorable. So you later admitted that not only did you offer to pay because of your I asked you out thing, but that you didn't have any money with you at the time. Does that sound right?
Probably, because I often don't realize that I don't have any money in my pocket.
So how is that going to play out?
I offered.
Okay, so what if I would have said yes?
Then I would have had to say, oh my God, I don't have any money.
Would you ever have gone out with me again? Oh, that long pause.
Wait, no, I don't understand. I don't understand the question. Why would I have ever gone out with you?
I ask myself that all the time. No, the question is, if I would have said, yes, thanks for offering. That'd be great if you paid. Would we have had a second date?
Yeah.
I don't believe you. I don't believe her. Okay, other questions. Our kids right now are 22 and 18.
Yes.
So this is a ridiculous question to ask when they're 22 and 18, but let's say that they are 8 and 4. And you and I had something that we wanted to go to on a Saturday night. Would you find it weird if most of my students are 15 or 16, so I said, hey, I've got this really responsible young lady in class. She says she babysits all the time. Maybe she's got that CPR certification or whatever. And I said, I'd like to pay her whatever the going rate is to watch the kids while you and I go to whatever this is. Would you find that weird?
No, not at all.
Because the teacher lets you know who you think are responsible kids. Okay. Would you find it weird if, same scenario, but I asked a guy, 16-year-old guy, CPR certification, same deal?
No.
You sure? I feel like she's fibbing. We have used some of your students over the years.
Yes.
All females.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's weird.
How many students do you know? Well, you have younger kids. Do you have any students who babysit?
A few of my 6th graders do. At 12, it's kind of dicey.
Yeah,
Usually
not real
it's
late.
It's not real late, or it's like for cousins or brothers or sisters, that kind of thing. It's usually not like...
Conjure up in your head how many kids you know that babysit. Any of them guys?
Once in a while, you'll hear one of the boys.
So
it's mostly girls.
Okay. Let's see. Let's say, well, we know this. When I describe this, you'll know it. But we'll pretend that we don't know this. Let's say that a kindergarten teacher is, say, 60-ish, and she's just got this sort of grandma vibe, awesome teacher. And as her kids come into class, she often hugs them. Like gives them a big hug and just, kind of loves on them a little bit. Do you find that odd?
No.
No. Okay. Let's say you have a male teacher, maybe 24, and he does the same thing.
I pause Not because I would be upset or offended, but I know other people might be.
Why?
Because unfortunately, men who are hugging on children can be perceived as doing something nefarious. And
Totally agree.
but
not terribly fair.
no, it's
So-
not.
Our oldest had a kindergarten teacher who was amazing.
Oh, she was wonderful.
She was
Oh.
wonderful.
When you picture perfect kindergarten teacher,
She was
her.
it. And she often hugged the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't bother me.
Nope.
Didn't seem to bother anybody in the community.
Nope.
Now, that same son had a first grade teacher the next year who was also,
He was amazing.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, he was so good.
and he took a lot of grief in the community because he wouldn't hug his kids. Because he did high fives, I
High
think.
fives.
Maybe special handshakes.
I think maybe
Something like that. And people were upset. And I remember going to like a parent meeting saying, hey, this poor guy can't.
right.
Because just as many people will be upset that he is showing too much affection.
Mm-hmm.
I'll throw this one out there too. Do you know any sixth grade teachers who sometimes hug their kids?
Oh, me. I'm a hugger. I hug all the time. No, but I will say with the boys, it's a side hug.
Side hug.
Mm-hmm. Boys get side hugs.
Okay. How much hugging do you think happens in high school U.S. history?
Oh, none.
Now, to be fair, female teachers either, I don't think.
Right.
Nothing cracks me up more than the notion of each one of you coming in and I'm like, how was your weekend? It's never going to happen. It just sounds creepy. And by the way, if
Yeah.
it sounds or feels creepy, it's
It
probably
probably
creepy. Yeah.
And to be fair, I do not hug my kids as they walk in the room. I hug them like
Where this is going
as
to go.
no, because if they need comfort, like if a kid's
Sure.
really upset about something,
Sure.
or sometimes if they've done something particularly kind or sweet.
Okay.
Um,
Let me throw this one out there.
mhm.
I've had kids in my room very validly
Mm-hmm.
in tears over very real things.
Yes.
I'll be honest, I've wanted to hug them
Mm-hmm.
because you feel bad. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, I vaguely like you guys, but I can't.
Right.
I just feel like I can't.
Right.
Maybe when you graduate, and then it's like that side hug that you talked
Right.
about. But I just feel like I can't, and you feel like you can.
Yeah.
Could be reverse sexism. I don't know. All right, but very good. We have some ideas here. Anything else you want to add in?
What do you think about opening doors, holding out chairs?
I was raised by a single mother. I
Mm-hmm.
got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do it. Are you offended if people don't?
No.
Is it nice when people do?
It's very nice. Now, I am offended if someone sees me with a huge load in my arms, and I don't care if it's a guy or a
Grocery
girl,
bags or
grocery
something.
bags or whatever, and someone doesn't hold the door open for me. I think that's just rude. But no,
That's
just
true.
to hold the door open for me just because I'm a girl, I don't care.
I'd say my mom is pretty strongly in favor of women's rights,
Mm-hmm.
but she raised me to be chivalrous. So it's quite a little conundrum for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think most of the guys we know, when we took you out for your birthday, we were
Mm-hmm.
with a big group. I was dealing with, kind of getting the cake and everything arranged, and I think one of the other guys in the group pulled out the chair for you.
It was very nice, but not required.
Of course, it was like a kind of a fancy dinner. I don't think at like Subway that happens.
No,
No. Okay. All right. Very good. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
no problem.
I appreciate it.
I
All
don't
right.
have anything else going on other than
Exactly.
teaching my own kids.
Other than that major thing. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. This is the first and last installment of Ask a Girl.
And I'm a girl.
And this is too far away.